In the great 2024 rap beef between Kendrick and Drake, we've been spending a lot of time studying all the different words, and that makes sense. We study the lyrics. That's where a lot of their skills as MCs come in. That's where all the accusations and boasting, etc. But there hasn't been as much study of the beats that are made, the music, not just lyrics, but the music. And we have to remember that part of what makes an MC great is their ability to select good beats. So that's what I want to do now. I'm tired of having the lyric off, the crime off, the beef off in general. Let's study the beats and have a beat competition. All right. Let's just see who selected the better beats. Now, here's the criteria I'm going to be using. Number one, we have to ignore what they're saying. We're really just focusing on the form and not the content of the songs. Okay. Which means I'm not going to get into whether or not this accusation is credible or that's a double entendre or a quintuple entendre. We're just studying the way that the beats are put together. We're talking drums, melody, how the beat interacts with the vocals, even the vocals themselves, how they're produced, not what they're saying, but how it sounds in the context of those drums and melodies, instrument selection, mixing, composition, not so much mixing, but like the way that the songs flow together into different parts, all of those things. We're going to be putting this together head to head in what I am counting as 16 different primary beats. Now, that's a lot more than there are songs, but that's because a couple of the songs are modular, which means they're cut into little chunks. So I want to take each chunk and study it because they're presumably made by different producers. And what's great about this is that while we're sitting here and talking about hip hop and rap music and what is the culture and what is not the culture. I recently did a video, which should be coming out soon, with Justin Hunt, the company man. Go follow him. If you watch me but not him, punch yourself in the face, okay? And if you watch him, you get why I just said that. But and he's really focused on the culture, on hip hop culture, and how this is a battle about that. And I definitely agree with that. But let's think about that purely musically as it pertains to these producers. Now, it's not going to be just two guys. There is a large participation of Boy Wonder for Drake and Soundwave for Kendrick, which makes sense. They're producers who work with them. They're from the same place. But there's all these other producers who are making all these other songs that are fascinating. I mean, I did a video recently about the top 5 producers working right now. And 3 of those 5 are in this whole beef: Alchemist, Conductor Williams, and Metro Boomin. Hell, the person who I consider to be the best producer of all time, Kanye West, even has a beat in this whole beef. So we can't really study this whole moment and just focus on the words. We also have to get to the beat. We have to have some kind of beat competition. So if you like this video, if you like this idea, smash the like button, subscribe. My name is Professor Skye. This is an always positive new music review show where I've been talking about the beef a lot for 2 reasons. 1, because I really enjoy it, and 2, because it is absolutely the most important thing happening in new music. And if I can add to the discourse in any way, then that would be awesome. Now, let's get to the criteria. Okay, I made a tier list. How YouTubey can I get? I made a tier list. I love tier lists. I like to pretend like I'm some kind of, footy-foo intellectual and stuff, and I am, but I'm also a goofy ass guy who just watches a lot of YouTube. And if I see a tier list, I'm going to watch. So I made 5 different tiers to put these different beats in. Now, I should say this is objective. I have an objectively correct opinion, and if you disagree with me, it's because you don't have the truth on your side. I'm being facetious. Obviously, these are just opinions of some dude in his living room, hoping not to wake up his baby and have to stop this video. All right. A dude who recorded this entire video last night, but didn't plug in the microphone. Yeah. Big brain. Big brain. So let me share you the tier lists. What I thought I would do is, because I don't like just doing S, A, B, C, D, right? Like that's just a little bit boring. I try to come up with titles. And so I picked different sports stars because this is a competitive art. I picked different sports stars at different levels of success in Los Angeles or Toronto. All right. So why don't you check out what I've done here? Let's share screen using tier list. Got to put my glasses on because that's the way I roll these days. All right. So S tier obviously is the best athlete in the history. I have to close this ad. I don't want you to. I don't want you to see that. The best athlete in the history of Los Angeles, of course, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. A tier, we're going to Toronto, the Carters. It's weird, the best baseball player, Joe Carter, and the best basketball player, Vince Carter. It's kind of a cool thing, right? They both have the same last name. For B tier, we're talking just average. I tried to find the most average player in the history of the Los Angeles Dodgers. I picked Franklin Stubbs. Most Dodger fans like him, but just sort of think of him as a guy with a great name. C tier, this is where we're getting not very good. We're going with the Toronto Maple Leafs post 1967. I'm not trying to do you all dirty. You're the second most successful franchise in hockey history. Props to you. But come on. Ty Domi and Doug Gilmour and Felix Potvin haven't quite got it done. Okay. And then finally, F tier is the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. Just get out of here. Just the worst. Just the worst. Everything about that franchise I don't like. All right. So are we ready? We ready to jump into this whole thing? Let me make myself a little bit bigger. I think I can do that. It's really weird. I don't quite know how to. So I guess I'll comment on the advertisements too as I see them. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of generative AI. So is there a way I can like get that out of here? Can I like make this smaller? No, that's just going to stay on there, isn't it? Whew. All right. Well, that's fine. All right. So the whole thing starts off with Metro Boomin and like that. And this is what's great about this whole battle. That's what's great about this whole moment. I'm sorry. I have to wait. Add options. How do I get out of this add option? Let me see here. Okay. No. Okay. Good. No personalized ads on the site. Thank you, Google. Hopefully we're all set here. Could watch this little Tom and Jerry thing happening the whole video. Okay, so where does it go? This original beat by Metro Boomin, the thing that gets the whole thing started off. We're starting off immediately in Kareem tier, immediately in S tier. What I love about this song and this beat is how amazingly efficient it is at being two things at once. It is simultaneously a right now rap beat. It's got the trap sounds and it sounds like a Metro Boomin beat. And you can just play it for anybody on the street or in their cars or whatever, and they're going to say that's a good beat. But it's also a wink and a nod to hip hop history using the Barry White motif that they reinterpolated. Anybody who's listened to rap music their entire life knows that beat super well. They might not know it's Barry White, they might not know the original, but they've heard it 1,000 times. The he was once a thug from around the way. Everybody associates that with Eazy-E, and they're able to connect it across history, which means if this whole thing is a battle for the soul of hip hop, this initial salvo is everything. It is the right now number one song, or was the number one song when it came out. It had that kind of power. Great, awesome. While at the same time, it connected to the history of the art form. All right. And it's just a good beat. Just all of that. It's a great bed for everything that's happening in this song. Now I'm going to include the Cole song 7 Minute Drill because this is in theory a three-way battle. Just because Cole dropped out doesn't mean his work is not getting analyzed. And we have our first modular beat on the song on the of the beef in this beat competition. And again, I can't turn off the ads. So all you can do when you're at home is just know that every time I see the ad change, I get anxious and upset that I can't turn it off. Feel free to tell me in the comments how to turn it off or just watch me sweat. Man, I have been Universal though. It's fine. It's all right. Simpsons Ride is mad disappointing. Okay, so how do we treat 7 Minute Drill? Right off the bat, Team Drake, Team not Kendrick, just completely sputters. Now, I like T Minus, who made this first half of the beat. I don't think he's a bad producer, but this is such a generic F tier beat. And that's the problem. And we're going to see as we get through a lot of Drake and Kendrick stuff is everything that Kendrick does, I remember. Everything on Drake's side, almost everything is something that I have forgotten. Like I have to really jog my memory or I have to listen to it again just to be able to understand it. All right. So I just, the drums are boring, the bells are boring. And as far as like a bed for his voice, it's encouraging this kind of like sleepy style Cole thing. And I don't think it works. And then we get to the second half by conductor Williams, and we're all the way up here in the A tier. Now, we're not at the like that beat, but what a beautiful, dusty drum, warbled piano, these little horns. And it ends up being a better bed for J. Cole's voice, which gets a little bit more sing-songy, a little bit more teasing, a little bit less trying to sound tough, and layers on with some strings later, the kind of beat where you could just hope it goes on and on and on and on and on. And what I love about this, this dichotomy between an F tier and an A tier for J. Cole, is it shows what I think is J. Cole's place in all of this. He himself is split between these two poles. He himself is split between just trying to do whatever the hell it is to be hot like Drake and then doing whatever it is that's real for the culture like Kendrick, right? He is the guy who is torn between these two sides. You know, like he is the he is like the child of these two separate ethos, and it's seen in this one song, which he of course eventually takes off. Now, what about push-ups? Now, everyone remembers push-ups because they remember the disses, they remember the words. But do you remember the beat? Do you really remember the beat? I don't really. I mean, it's a lot. I listened to it again. It's a lot like the A part of 7 Minute Drill, kind of the John Carpenter piano line. It's just sort of, it's fine, I guess, but it's not interesting, and his delivery is boring, and it just sounds anonymous. There's this interesting moment where it cuts out. Sorry, Toby's getting some water, so you might hear him get some water. You having some good water there, boy? I don't edit my videos, so you're just gonna have to deal with that sound. I'll have some water too. So, so there's a point where it kind of cuts out, and it's just a hi-hat in Drake's voice. And this is what I'm talking about: production, right? How do you produce a good beat? Well, you have to do things like that to break things up, to create some tension, to create some excitement. But it doesn't work at all. Like it just cuts out and then comes back in, and I don't feel it. Now, I do like the kind of the minor strings that come in at a certain point, especially the wipe down part is very nice. And I think that's what saves it from being an F tier beat. Because, I mean, Drake is a master rapper, right? He's not like, there's no part of him that's like amateur or not good at what he's doing. And this part is especially interesting. And then we have the switch at the end. So we have DJ Academics. Um, rough week for him. I released a video where I watched him watching my video, and I was like, you know, it actually wasn't that bad. I thought he was going to be super insulting, but then he said his dog was sick, and my dog was sick last week. So, like, you know, we're all humans. We love hip hop and we love our dogs. Turns out he's having a rough week. I picked a bad day to declare peace with DJ Academics. But that doesn't matter. What does matter is that this introduces this other part, this kind of B part, right? And this B part, can I like get out of this like this way? No, oh boy, I better not do that. Okay. This B part is like kind of more interesting, where he starts kind of sing-songing. Again, this I would say is what keeps it from being in the F tier. And then the Like That remix by Kanye West, or by the artist currently known as Ye. This might be controversial because I've heard a lot of people say that this is the best beat. And if you've ever watched my channel, you know the only thing I like talking about, no, it's the thing I like talking about most on planet Earth is Kanye West. If I had to choose one thing to talk about on this channel and nothing else, it would be the work of Kanye West. Okay. And I do actually believe he is the greatest living artist on planet Earth. I do believe he belongs in the conversation with Picasso. I don't think, I'm not speaking hyperbole. I've talked about it a lot. But this, as the kids would say, it isn't it. It just isn't. You know, I'm putting it B tier. I'm putting it just kind of fine. Now, the reason that I think people think this is so great, and I get it, is using the Milan Ultras, okay, using the soccer fans. And I made a whole video about that. If you haven't seen it, you should check it out. I talk about how it's kind of an interesting thing because a lot of the people who are singing, or some of the people who are singing, are presumably white nationalists, or to say Nazis, and just sort of the fact that he's using their voices is further confusing sort of the way that we perceive of him. But the main thing that he's doing is he's creating a collective feel. And as a society, as a culture, we are demanding more collectiveness. We've been isolated by COVID. We're isolated constantly by our computers. So anything that gives us that sense of togetherness, that's awesome. That's something that we want. That's something that makes us feel better, right? So with that in mind, using the ultras is a very cool idea. So when I took all the notes for this, I was on a long car ride with my daughter, and so I had her take the notes while we were listening to the songs, and she wrote this: B tier. I want it to be A tier though, Dad, comma, it's so good. Okay. That's that's what she said. Okay. I'll show you my notes. You see? See, she does it right there. Dad, it's so good. Okay. So I get it. The problem is he screws up on the sound. It's too compressed or pitched to the point where it sounds like it's a bunch of people singing into a, a paper towel holder. It just doesn't, to me, it doesn't sound like a big group of people all singing together. It doesn't have that wildness, that freeness. Now, it is great because it sounds cool. He lets the he lets the beat ride a little bit more. He has his delivery, not the words, but the way he's delivering them. He's very nice and easy and kind of sing-songy, which I think this whole beat really needs. This whole beat needs more of that kind of sing-songy, fun sound. So yes, let's see if I can get rid of the ads yet. I still can't get rid of the ads. Is there no way to get rid of the ads? Okay. Somebody right now is just furiously typing, Skye, just do adblocker.net or something. Okay. So there we are. We have one from each. All right. As of now, it's, pretty even. We have one Kendrick hit and then one Team Drake hit and then kind of, sort of in the middle. And then things are going to go off the rails here with Taylor Maid. By far the most California Angels of Los Angeles, Anaheim you've ever seen. I hate this beat. I hate the way that it sounds. I hate the way that it walks. I hate the way that it dresses. I hate every single thing about this beat. Now, interestingly, in my conversation with Justin Hunt, he actually really likes this beat. So that made me confused because I really respect his opinion. It had me slightly confused. So maybe someday he'll come out with a video where he explains why he likes it, or maybe he already made it and I missed it. But to me, the beat itself sounds like a representation of the failure of the lyrics. So the AI Tupac, that's part of the beat, right? That's like the sound of the voice, the way the voice is produced is part of the beat. And I think it sounds Gumby as hell. I think it sounds terrible. I don't think it sounds like Tupac at all. One, it's just we're at the very beginning here. This is not Gollum, okay? This is not some kind of developed AI. This is, I don't know, the most like clumsy Cinemax at 11 o'clock. This is like the Fantastic Four movie. This is some kind of weird, bad looking CGI. But the flow is also Drake's flow. It's not even Tupac's flow. And the drums are just bad and random. And it's trying to sound like a West Coast song. But it sounds like a West Coast song if it was made by one of these goddamn AI things that's being advertised to you against my will. Okay? Like, how whenever you ask someone to do a picture of AI or whatever, they have like 6 fingers, It's like, hey, how's it going, everybody? It's going great. This is a 6-fingered West Coast beat. Like, I recognize it as looking and sounding a little bit like something you might hear off of a Dr. Dre project or whatever. But in reality, it just sounds off. It sounds fake and bad and AI and nasty. And I just think it's absolute, complete garbage. I'm glad it doesn't exist anymore. I'm glad it's taken off, even though I'm discussing it here. Which brings us to Euphoria, the first 3-segmented song. I don't know who produced each of these bits. I can guess, but there's like maybe 5 or 6 producers on here. I don't know, Cardo, Soundwave, etc. So I'm just going to talk about the 3 different parts. The A section, I get what it's doing, but personally, I don't enjoy it that much. I mean, this is part of why the song is so great, is that all three parts go together really well, right? If I were to just pick one song, if I had to just condense them down to one tier, I'd put it all in A tier because all three songs go so well together. All three sections go so well together. But it's kind of this sleepy jazz thing, and it's fine. It does what it's supposed to do, but it doesn't really engage. The B section, I think, in a similar way, is right there in the with the B's, kind of an average beat, kind of simple battle rap sounds, some more bells. But again, the way that the vocals are used is so much more energetic and so much more like interacting with the aggressiveness of the beat, which is great because we just had the calmness of the first part. So he knows not only how to select the beats, he also knows how to interact with them. At a certain point, this organ sound comes in with this great angry flow. And then we get to the C section, which is absolutely an A tier. This is just it, right? It's like it's all building up to this point. These ominous synth horns. It sounds like an 808 drum machine, like just those sounds. And the vocals just carry it. And there's this whole thing where at a certain point, so for most of it, it's just four notes being played. But at a certain point, one note is held. And when that note is held, you might not even notice it. You might have heard this song 100 times, like most of the world, and never noticed that those four notes are stopped and just one. I hate the way that you walk. I hate the way that you talk. I hate the way that you, right? That whole thing, like that one note, your mind wants more. Your mind wants to go up and down. Your mind wants to keep going, but he's holding you back and he's making you stay right on that one note, and you're stuck and you can't get off. And then the way the horns come in on the crowdy part, that's the thing. He's not just a master of double and quintuple entendre. He has this mastery of constructing beats. And it's so funny because the whole week before, Drake was just making fun of him for waiting to come out with music. And look, at least according to my opinion, which of course is objectively correct, like look what he did. He released two songs. We're talking uh Push Ups and Taylor Made, and like they're both kind of Whereas Euphoria took a week and it's three songs and every single one of them hits. 616 in LA. I also got to put this in the A tier. I think I'm going to put it below the C section of uh of of Euphoria, but this is fascinating because it's with Soundwave and Jack Antonoff. Now, I don't know if Soundwave is just doing a little synth bit at the beginning and then Jack Antonoff is doing that kind of hard work with the sample, the Al Green sample. I don't know. In my review of the song, I compared it to the song Otis by Kanye and Jay-Z. I think it's very similar in terms of like connecting, but again, it's a question of what are you communicating? What are you communicating about music and about rap music? As opposed to having some kind of generic sound. What does it mean if you're taking Al Green? And I know, okay, Drake's great uncle was playing guitar. That's fine. That's fine. But that's not what this is about. This isn't about beef. This isn't about PDF files, and it's not about domestic abuse. This is about the actual sounds. And it's connecting you through the ages. I mean, don't forget, I talked about this recently on my Ghostface video. Hip hop itself started from a nostalgic place. When DJ Kool Herc and the other guys started picking out beats and break beats and all that, they weren't trying to find stuff that was hot right then. They were trying to find the music that their parents liked. Okay? They're trying to find the music that would be listened to in the living room and then chop that up. That was one of the sort of roadblocks to hip hop, because a lot of young kids were like, why are we listening to James Brown? Like, that's old. Why are we listening to that? So this music really does connect. And this maybe, I don't know, even though Drake's great uncle might be playing on the song or whatever, grandfather's nephew, who knows what, it does feel like it's coming from Kendrick's household and maybe not Drake's. Okay, at least not half of this household. I don't know. Maybe his mom is a big Al Green fan like I am, right? I love Al Green. I own that CD. Okay. Then we get to Family Matters, another three-part section. Now, I'll start with the A section. Now, okay, here's a weird thing. So this is co-produced by Mark Ronson, which means we are having a white super producer off in the middle of this beat competition, okay? In the middle of this beef off, in the middle of this culture off, in the middle of this crime off, in the middle of this beat competition, we are having a white super producer battle off. So it's funny. Again, Mark Ronson did the Barbie soundtrack. He did all of Amy Winehouse's stuff. He's done so much stuff. I could just sit here talk about all that. And obviously, Jack Antonoff did all the Taylor Swift stuff and Lana Del Rey and all that. It's just kind of funny. Of course, Boy Wonder and Take Keith are also on here, but the A section, it's fine. It's actually it's pretty good. I'll put it in B. It's pretty average. It's continuing on the end of push-ups. That's a nice idea. You see, this is part of the problem is that when we're studying the beef, a lot of people have explained how Kendrick was playing chess and Drake was playing checkers. That's kind of a silly way to put it. I think it's more like Drake was reacting, whereas Kendrick was sort of planning. So Kendrick would drop a line in one song and then come back to that line three songs later, creating a whole feeling that this thing was all planned and meditated and thought out, as opposed to just reacting. Having these two songs connected is nice. That shows a certain level of thought where Drake's like, okay, I know how it's going to be. I know how we're going to connect these things. And the beat itself works well. But then we get to the B section. The B section is just so weak. And this is what I'm talking about. Like, he is inadvertently, I believe, reinforcing the attacks against him by his beat selection. If he is just a culture vulture, appropriating colonizer who just hops around and takes different fads and different aspects of Black American culture and uses them for his own benefit. If that's just who he is, then the fact that he's taking this drill song or this drill beat, taking this drill style, shows that he doesn't have a home. There's no there. Now, his rapping's great on this part. His cadence kind of saves this beat from being full on F tier. But fortunately, we have a total A tier song with the C section. I think this is high A tier. I think the C section's great because it plays to his strengths so well. Right now, listen. Every time I talk about one of these beats in my head, I have to play it. Right? It's one of the hardest things about doing an unedited YouTube show is you're trying to like talk about all these songs and you have to keep them all in your head. For most of all of the Kendricks, I have it right off the top of my head. For Drake's, I don't, but this I do. The sing-songy nature of the way that just that opening line, Kendrick just opened his mouth. And again, you can imagine he's not even speaking English. Imagine you're listening to the song and you're from, I don't know, Djibouti, like it's very, very cool. It's a very nice, interesting sound. And the way that he develops his lyrics and how he actually sounds calm. The problem with Drake is that if you don't buy the act, if you don't buy that he's like actually as calm and unaffected as he acts, then his music can be cringy because someone who's pretending to be cool and aloof, but isn't, that's the definition sort of cringe, right? But here I really believe it. I really feel it. That we get it, we got it. The way he delivers those lines with that space, it's for me, it is the best of what Drake does. I've called Drake a genius many times in this whole beef thing. And so even though I get a lot of hell from a lot of Drake stands because they think I'm biased, I don't think I'm biased. I think I'm seeing things fairly neutrally. But I do think Drake is a certain kind of musical genius. Okay, I do. I don't think he's like a lyrical genius or a music selection genius or a producing genius, but I think all together he has some kind of genius for riding waves, for being relevant, for understanding culture and understanding popular perception, in addition to being a very skilled person with rap and all that. Okay. Maybe I'll do a video sometime. Why is Drake a genius? Although, again, you can just watch Justin Hunt's video about why Drake is a GOAT. So, anyways. I'm throwing a lot of stuff his way because he's already done a lot of really good work. Jesus. But really, this is what I love about Drake, the C section. If every beat were as good as this, I'm not sure he would have lost the battle so hard. Then we get to Meet the Grams. Now, you might think because this is Alchemist and Alchemist is one of the best producers in hip hop right now, that this has to be S tier. I don't think so. I think this is high A tier. I am going to have to put it above Family Matters. It's part of the crazy thing where the the move of Kendrick to release the song a half an hour later is always going to be the greatest move, I think, in rap battle history. I don't think any other move has ever been so efficient because it immediately took the wind out of the sails. Family Matters could have been the song of the summer, could have been the song of maybe the week, could have been the song for the day. It was the song for the time that it took to watch an episode of Friends on Netflix. Okay. That's how long it was the song. And it was replaced in content with all of these crazy accusations, but also just in terms of the music was probably a lot of people's first real introduction to Alchemist. I mean, maybe they heard We Cried Together, but in general, Alchemist is I mean, okay, people have heard his beats a million times, but they might not know it's him. But this sets up so beautifully. And what he does is that I've been sort of working on this theory that Alchemist is like the best posse cut producer because he knows how to make beats that carry weight, that can carry verse after verse after verse after verse. It takes a lot of effort, that kind of repetition, that kind of length. And what he does is he has that beautiful introduction. Ding, 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 ding. So that each time that little introduction comes before each letter to Adonis, I mean to Adidon, or what's his actual name? It's Adonis, isn't it? To Adonis or to his parents or etc. Uh, yeah, he wrote a letter to etc. Nice one, Skye. So like that little din, 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 that gives you that reset. And then that line, the descending cut of the piano is just so nice, and the atmospheric sounds in the background. And it's just perfect. And you just realize that for the gravitas that Kendrick can deliver, the weight that he can put into a verse needs to be matched with a producer that can hold that up. And he found it with Alchemist, which means you could not possibly do better. Oh, you can do better. Not Like Us is by far the best beat on this whole beat. I am going to go as far as to say that Mustard's production on this song and Kendrick's work with Mustard, and I think probably Soundwave was working on there too, that they made a perfect rap song. There's not a lot of perfect songs out there. You know, Welcome to the Terror Dome, Bohemian Rhapsody. You know, it's not that many perfect songs out there in any genre, but it does so many things so well. And what we have to remember is that idea of connecting song to song. So Drake connected push-ups to Family Matters, and that was cool, man. That was nice. That was a nice little connection, but it was very superficial. It was just the thing that ends this begins that. What Kendrick and Soundwave do is they have a mirrored structure where you have an instrumental bit that starts the song and punctuates the verses. In the case of Meet the Grams, it's dun 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 dun, dun. And then in the case of Not Like Us, it's and in each case they're setting you up and getting you ready. In Meet the Grams, it goes dark, it goes sad, it goes deep, it goes lyrical, it goes so. But in Not Like Us, it goes two notes. Dee, 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 dee. He's able, the ways that these songs interact with each other, what I call the sugar and the medicine. He gives you the medicine first. He gives you the hard work of understanding Meet the Grams. He breaks down this person line by line by line by line by line. And then he gives you your dessert. You've eaten all of the kale. You've eaten all of the liver. And now you get to have some ice cream. This is that ice cream. And the beat perfectly communicates that idea. Do you know how hard it is to make a hit song? If it was that easy, people would just do it all the time. People can't do it. This beat is perfect, and especially if we compare it to the worst song on this beef, Taylor Made, a canned AI imitation of a West Coast beat. Instead, we have Mustard showing what a real West Coast beat is, and there's an intangible quality that can't be imitated with your six-fingered jabs and recreations. You can't do it. There is a soul to this music. There is a soul to this creation that cannot be imitated in a computer and cannot be analyzed and reproduced by somebody who is outside of the culture, right? And I'm including myself. I couldn't make Not Like Us if you put me on a deserted island for 10 million years. I would never be able to make that beat. Okay? And that's what Kendrick is able to do. Make real music that really moves people. And how many hooks does that song have? How many? How many? They not like us. They not like us. Wow, 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 wow. Say OV ho. I think I'm missing a couple. There's so many awesome hooks all over the song. That's what it has to do. How many hooks are there on Meet the Grams? None. None, because that's not the point of the song. How many hooks are Not Like Us? All of them. Which then leaves us to the final track of the album, of the beef, at least this section of the beef, the Heart Part 6. Now listen, that intro, Show Me Proof or whatever it is by Aretha Franklin, that's cool, but they don't bring it back. They don't know how to use it. They had a cool idea, but they didn't know how to use it. I'm sure they could have called Ye and he would have told them how to integrate that soul, but no, they can't call Ye. I'm sure they could have called any number of very talented producers, but they couldn't. They don't know, they don't have that kind of access. They can't do that. It's the problem. It ends up being, I remember I watched the Joe Budden podcast discussing it, and they were sort of saying like, oh my God, this is totally the best beat. This is what we really want from Drake. How does it go? I hope he doesn't include it in the video that's made of our conversation, Justin and I. But I asked him if he thought this was a good beat. And we talked about it for sort of like 3 or 4 minutes. And then at a certain point, we both essentially agreed that we forgot how the beat went. So we were discussing it, but it was sort of like, and even right now, you tell me at home, you've been watching me talk about all these things. Can you think about the Heart Part 6 beat? I dare you. I double dare you. Pause it. If there's someone else in the room, say, this is how the Heart Part 6 beat goes. Because you know what you're going to do? You're going to like this. Din, 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 din. Din, 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 din. Din, din, din. You're not going to be able to stop it. You're not going to be able to stop it. You can't. It's just done. And now it does suit his voice really well. I mean, it is actually like, it's not a terrible beat. But in the context of this whole beef, it just doesn't do it. I like how the drums remind me a lot of the 30 Hours beat from, Under 3000 and Kanye, and just the false cool that he has at the end. Even that, like, that's what we're talking about, production. Okay, that's production. That's a production decision where Drake decided he would try to sound cool and disaffected and uninterested at the end of the song, but it doesn't track. It doesn't read as real. He just sounds like he's reading a notes app, and he even rhymes every once in a while. It's like I said, and then I thought, but it's cool though, man. It's cool. We can just. I'm happy that I made you rap. It just doesn't come across. So there's my tier list. Who who won this one? It's very clear when it comes to beat selection and the beats in this whole thing that Kendrick absolutely wins. And it makes sense because he has the deeper connection to the other artists, right? He doesn't have that kind of weird parasitic or symbiotic relationship. He actually works with them. We have Metro Boomin, we have Mustard, and we have Alchemist. I'm going to stop sharing here. No more ads. So what do you think? Was that a fun exercise? Do you agree? Why don't you put in the comments how you rate them? Where do you think I went wrong? Where do you think I was right? Um, uh, I hope you aren't planning any trips to Universal Studios now because of this video. I don't advertise anything. All right. Well then, until next time, I hope it's recorded on this microphone. That would be really nice because I have an entire version of this video. It's like, well, the thing about the bass, not my boss, it's my son. All right. Till next time, there's the camera.